Hello.
As you know, I'm not a real therapist. My name is Danielle Tyndall, and I am a student at LaTourneau University. This is not meant to be diagnostic. This is not in any way real therapy. It's being recorded. My professor will see it. This is just to kind of help me get practice for the career I'm going to have.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so tell me, what brings you in today?
Well, just a little stressed and anxious. I mean, I made a job change a couple years ago, and it just seems like ever since then it's, I don't really look forward to much.
Okay.
I had a job that was really tiring, but it was, it was enjoyable. It was something that I enjoyed doing, and
When you say tiring, what does that mean? Are you
well, it required I couldn't separate myself from it. It was just, there are so many moving parts that you just always thought about it,
okay?
So it was mentally tiring. Sometimes it was physically tiring, but it was there were lots of on call, lates at night, long weekends.
And this was your previous job.
Correct.
Okay.
You'd think that would have had me stressed out, but I was so busy. I don't guess I could be stressed out.
Okay.
But I don't.
And how long would you say you kind of had this stress and anxiety about the job change?
I mean, since it started, really, it's
2
been
years?
hills and
You said
valleys.
a couple of years? 2 years?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
It's,
is it pretty consistent throughout that time?
yeah, I mean, there are periods. There's always like a lingering. It's never been really comfortable after about the first couple of months. First couple of months, it was fairly. I mean, I was adjusting.
Okay.
And kind of trying to fall into a group, and then there was a management change, and ever since then it's just been really maybe unpredictable. I don't know. That's really the problem. It was fine, and we got the manager before was hours away, and
Okay.
he was pretty hands off.
Okay. When you say you feel stressed and anxious, what physical symptoms? What does your physical symptoms look like? Do you have any physical symptoms for that?
Well, I think really when I get stressed and anxious, it kind of makes me.
Do you do less? Do you do more?
Less. I would
Do
say
less?
I'm a little kind of. Yeah, I do less.
Would you say you're easily distracted or not easily distracted?
I suppose it's hard to describe because the work is not very hard.
Okay.
It's boring, It's boring and it's easy, and so when you're saying, am I easily distracted? I mean, not really from my work. If I am easily distracted from my work, it's not a problem, I don't guess, because it's not very hard, so
Okay.
I could sit down and do a great deal of work in a short period of time.
So, is this feeling of stress and anxiety, is it primarily like during your job, or is it 24/7? Is it just in the mornings, starting your day? Like, when is it throughout the day?
I mean, it's just, I don't know. I've struggled to find, my job is a big part of what I do, and it has been for, just a few years shy of 30 years.
Okay.
So if that's not right, it kind of bleeds over into everything else because it's such a major part of what you're doing during the waking hours of the day.
So you'd say kind of your symptoms are all throughout the day.
I would say so.
Okay. Have you ever been hospitalized for a mental illness or emotional condition?
No, I went to the hospital one time years ago when I was in my 20s. You know, I thought
Like an ER or a psychiatric?
like an ER.
Okay, an ER. And
They
tell me
could-
about that.
It was just they just determined it was like a panic attack. I mean, I felt like I was having a heart attack or something. I didn't know what was going on, but I had some family history, not immediate family, but
A heart attack?
grandparent. Yes, so I was I think I worked myself into a bit of a tizzy, thinking, well, what if it's that, and then that made it even worse. Made me kind of just spiral out of control.
Was there anything that led up to that? An event?
Yeah, I was in a really, it was a, yes. I was kind of in a bad relationship.
Okay.
And things were just not going good. And
Like, has your relationship ended, or was it?
no,
still
it was
in?
just, it needed to
Okay.
end. It was kind of hanging on. And anyway, it was just a bad deal. But
When you went to the ER thinking it was a heart attack and it was just chest pains, did they keep you? Did they admit you?
no,
No.
they gave me I don't know exactly what they gave me, something to calm me down, and then,
Something for anxiety, like just, did you get a prescription, or they just gave it to you in the hospital? Or did,
they gave it to me, they did give me a prescription, I
Okay.
think.
and how long did you take that prescription?
Just as needed for, I still as needed take it, it's
Okay.
not, and I haven't had anything I would consider to be a panic attack or anything. I think I kind of realize it now, so I'm able to kind of talk myself down.
So you really do believe you had a true panic attack?
I kind of feel like that.
Okay.
I felt like I was fixing to
And
go out.
the doctors thought that also.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, so how long have you had the prescription? How long ago was that?
20 years ago.
Okay. All right. And what is that medication?
It's Ativan,
Adamant. And do you know what dose?
1 milligram.
And how often do you say you take it?
I haven't had one in, I'll take that back. I've had one in I've had half of one pill in maybe 3 months.
Okay.
Not often. It's just as needed. There are times when I take them, every day for a couple days.
Okay.
And then there are times when I go 6 months without taking one. Matter of fact, I've ran out and gone a long time without taking them. I try not to take them.
Is it helpful to you?
To
Can you
take them?
tell a difference?
Yeah, it helps, I think.
Tell me what's different.
It just calms me down.
Okay. When you say calms me down, are we talking like breathing? Are we talking mania? Like, do you have any suicidal thoughts
Oh,
in this
no.
time?
No.
Okay. Okay.
But I have, it's just, I don't know, maybe it just slows my thought process down enough to, I don't know, it just calms me down. I'm trying to elaborate.
So do you think? So are you having kind of racing thoughts during this time, or you're worried? Is it worry or just thoughts that keep coming, unwanted thoughts?
I don't know. Sometimes I think it may not even be that. I don't know if it's anxiety or depression. Sometimes I think I take it because I feel a little depressed, because I think my anxiety in my situation leads to depression. And sometimes that comes out in the form of anger,
Yep.
And I'm not angry at anybody in my household, but sometimes the stresses that I have, at work, it just comes home with you. So there are times when I know where I feel like, all right, I should probably take a half a pill, or I should probably take a half a pill so I don't lash out at people.
So it's more for you're trying more to alleviate anger.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Okay.
There's some. I would say half the time it's anger and half the time it's just depression.
Okay.
And I don't even know if Ativan helps with depression, but
So it just
it does seem to.
so when it's that depressed side, what is it doing for you? You just kind of lifting your mood? You feel better, happier, or you just What
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of chills me out.
Okay.
You know, I don't know. I never was a big marijuana smoker or anything like that, but it would be comparable to that, like just like I mean, or maybe having a drink or whatever. Maybe not having a drink, but something just to kind of slow your, you know, just to chill you out a little bit, and you know, I don't know, just.
Okay. Let me pause right there. Tell me about your relationship with drugs and alcohol.
I'm not very. I mean, I don't use. I never use drugs. I mean, the only thing I use is you know, what are prescribed,
Okay.
and I really don't drink much alcohol.
Okay. When you say, what does not much mean?
Oh, I mean,
Once a month, once a week.
maybe
Once a
twice.
year?
Maybe well, it's sporadic too. Maybe twice. Maybe. I mean, if I had to say an average, maybe twice a month.
Okay.
If I had to say an average, but there are times when I'll go quite a long time without a drink, you know, and there are times when I do, and I don't really.
What those like 2 times a month that you would drink? What does that look like?
If I have 2 drinks, that's like pushing it.
Okay.
Like,
And what about like illicit drugs? I know you don't take like medication drugs like
no, I don't.
But like, have you ever any drug history at all? Like when you were younger or anything?
I mean, recreational, a little, but nothing.
So
You
you
know.
would never like say, "Oh, I had a problem with this."
Oh no.
Okay. Okay. All right. What about military service? Any military
No.
service? Okay. Tell me about your faith and religious aspects.
Yeah, I've been, you know, faithful in the same congregation for most of my life. You know,
Okay.
with my family.
Is that a big part of your life, or
It
just
is.
kind of like okay? What does faithful mean to you? What does that mean?
Well, I mean, I feel like I'm. I mean, faithful in attendance, but you know, also I do try to make it a, you know, try to live a life that would be. I mean, my faith is in the, you know, it's always in my mind when I'm.
Okay.
You know, it just never goes away.
Daily. It's
Yeah.
always present. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not really. I mean, I know it's cliche to say I'm not perfect, obviously, but I'm not really outwardly religious, I guess. I'm not, you know, but
Would you say you've suffered any religious trauma?
I know.
You had a pretty normal childhood. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing like over the top.
No, I mean, we had some stuff that happened at church camp. It wasn't to me, thankfully, you know. But no, I haven't no religious trauma. I mean, I don't know if you can. You know, when I was a little kid at church camp, I had a counselor that was kind of rough on us. But I mean, I didn't really take that out. I don't hold that against the church. Maybe just that guy.
So just a camp, like a counselor at camp, which when you say rough on you.
Well, he didn't have any business being with 8 and 9-year-old kids.
Okay.
You know, he just was
You just didn't
impatient.
have the personality.
Yeah, one time it was a terrible, I almost never went back. It was my first year to go to church camp, and I almost never went back because it was just such a bad experience. Really, both counselors in the cabin had no business being
Okay.
around 8 or 9-year-olds, but it wasn't anything sexual or anything like that. It was just, at one point I know, the younger counselor, like, he literally grabbed me by my ear and, like, drug me off, like, holding my ear really hard.
Wow.
Nowadays, they'd probably be like abuse, but back then, in the 80s, it was like, well.
Okay. What was the age difference in the counselor? Just out of curiosity.
Ooh,
Like
you know,
teenager.
when you're a little kid,
older person?
old people in their 30s seem really old. He was probably in his 20s,
Probably 20s. Okay.
and it was the summer after my 3rd grade
Okay.
year, 2nd or 3rd grade.
About 10 years.
So I was out,
8 to 10. Age
like
12
the age
years.
difference between he and I.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say
8 to 12 years.
probably 12 to 15.
Okay.
Yeah, if I had to guess.
Okay. What about any other medical stuff? Any blood pressure, migraines,
No.
any physical?
No, I really haven't. Unfortunately, even though I'm not the picture of health, I haven't. You know, I could probably go to the doctor a little more often, but I've never been. It's never been suggested that I get on blood pressure medicine or anything like that.
What about, we talked about taking the Ativan as needed, sporadically. Anything else that you take prescribed or supplement wise?
No, I take vitamin. I take a daily.
Just
Just take
over
like
the counter?
like a multivitamin
Okay.
and a probiotic, but that's it. I don't take anything. I used to take a Prilosec for indigestion, but ever since I started taking the probiotic, I don't have to take that anymore. So
Do you have a lot of like gastro problems like indigestion?
if I'm doing, like, I'm in a really good spot right now, controlling my diet and not overeating and stuff like that, I don't like any problem that I have health wise is like self-inflicted. I don't have it. So right now I don't have indigestion or anything like that. I'm just, because I've been in a good like 6-week period of not, you know, of being making a little more healthy choices.
What about like headache, backache, easy fatigue?
No. What do you say? Yawn. No. I mean, there are times. I mean, nothing remarkable. Like, I do get sometimes when the weather changes. I mean, that's getting older, I guess. But I'll get like a pretty good headache, and I'll have to take Tylenol sometimes, 2 separate doses before it goes away.
Okay.
Every so often it'll roll into the next day. But I mean,
Okay.
it's not. That doesn't happen maybe 3 times a year.
Okay.
So no headache. I mean, I do have. I mean, I've had some back trouble. I have a compressed vertebrae or something.
Okay.
You know, but it's not. It's nothing that's like real burden.
Any crazy different changes in your appetite?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, I don't. You know, I use food to cope sometimes. So I guess that's like, you know, there are times when I'm in a bad place. I'll just eat, like it's like the high point, like a high point. You know, it's like an immediate like.
So, is that? Are you currently kind of having that?
No.
Okay. When was the last
I'm doing
time
great
you
right
said
now.
that you used food to cope?
Probably a couple months ago.
Okay. Okay. Tell me about your sleeping.
I sleep pretty good, I think.
You fall asleep okay?
Yeah, I mean, I always want to stay up later than I should, but I fall asleep fine. I don't toss and turn.
What do you do when you stay that late? Like you stay later than you should. Like binge
Smoke
watch
cigar, watch
Okay.
TV. You know, just kind of chill out. You know, shut my brain down.
Okay. So just kind of like you just kind of like get numb, like
That's it.
like you're not staying up reading or you're
No,
not.
probably
Okay.
should. No.
But it's not because you're just laying in bed awake.
Oh no.
Okay. Okay. And what time do you typically go to bed?
Honestly, probably midnight.
Okay. Pretty much every night.
Probably, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I'd say it's safe. There are nights when I'll go to bed a lot earlier than that, but most of the time, I would say probably about midnight.
Okay. And what time do you typically get up?
6.
6.
I've never been a person just to like sleep. I've always been, you know, when I was in my 20s, I would sometimes wake up after 4.5 hours, just eyes wide open, and just be ready to drink coffee and start my day.
And when you did that, did you stay awake the whole day, or did you have to take a nap?
No, I'd stay awake the whole day.
Okay. So you have a past that you're kind of like having little sleep. Would you do that multiple days at a time?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it's more. There are sometimes when I'm like, man, I wish I could sleep a little bit longer, because once I wake up, I can't go back to sleep. You know,
And that's kind of been a lifelong thing.
pretty much.
Okay.
And now, the older I get, the more, you know, I miss that extra little bit of sleep.
So it's still like when you wake up, you're up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever take naps?
Yeah, I've started taking naps occasionally. I mean,
Okay.
occasionally on a Saturday or Sunday, I'll take a
Weekend
nap.
nap? Okay. And let me circle back. Have you ever sought out counseling services before this?
No, I had to go through a psych eval when I worked at the county jail years ago, and I did reach out to a therapist practice, or I don't know what you call it, but
Yeah.
like a counseling center, and I just didn't follow up with it.
Any reason?
Just busy, I think. I mean, it's not like it's one of those. It's like, I mean, it's like a diet. It's like I know I need it. You know, I could probably benefit from it, but like, you know, there's just so much going on. You know, it's just like I need to like.
You're just kind of making it the way it is without.
Yeah, well, I think sometimes I tell myself, well, you know what to do. You know, you could improve your prayer life. You could, and that's what I tell myself is, I should really fix all the things that I can fix. You know, before I do that. That's probably the wrong way to think, because if that was working for me, I wouldn't be 47 and still dealing with some of these issues.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like I know a lot. I do know. I don't know everything. I'm not a know-it-all. But I do know things that will help. Like I know, like when I'm controlling my diet, I'm in a better headspace.
Yeah.
You know, I know that because that's just something that, you know, like if things are not going great at work, at least I'm, you know, losing weight. You know, something positive. You know, and it's one stressor that's off of me.
Yeah.
You know, because when I'm in a really bad place and I feel stressed because of work, and I'm just like looking forward to lunch so I can go eat something that tastes good, you know, then later you're just hit with like, you know, like depression or more anxiety because you know that you know, you're really just failing. You're failing yourself. You know, you're your own worst enemy. Or I'm my own worst enemy in that instance.
So you're kind of on this little health path, and you've kind of been on that a couple months. You're managing that. What are you doing to replace the joy that you're getting and the reward that you're giving yourself from, you know, rewarding yourself with your health, your unhealthy food, or?
I don't know. I don't know. I generally, I just kind of feel better, you know? So it's not, I don't feel like I'm replacing it with anything. Like, I just feel better. Like, you know? Like, I feel better all day by not overeating and stuff like that. It just makes, I just generally feel better. I feel like I have a better attitude, and I just feel better. I'm hungry all the time, but I still feel, it's kind of weird.
Yeah. So, just kind of a thought, like I want you to kind of think about like a table. Like if you take a leg away from a table, it might stay for a minute, but it's going to fall over. So when you take something away, you kind of need to put something back in that place.
Yeah.
Or it's just going to kind of cycle on you. So, that's just something to think about. We're not going to really address that today. Just something to kind of put
recreational
back on.
drugs, man.
Well, you want to
Something
replace it
positive.
something healthy, yes.
Well, I have been telling myself, all right, I wanted to like focus on my brain power on this diet and get my eating habits straight, and then I didn't have like a, I would like to get in I would like to get in a more of an exercise habit, which I guess that kind of back to the first question. I feel like I have been more active.
Okay.
And I think that maybe that, like I've been more active, like with the kids and, with my wife. And I feel like, that's another thing. Like when you eat bad and you're all that, it's like you don't want to do anything, but I enjoy doing things.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, I'm not having to be drugged off the couch to go do something. Like I have energy to go and.
Like what kind of things do you enjoy doing?
I don't know. I really like to go and see things and I like to see the kids see things.
Like traveling?
Oh yeah, I like to travel.
Okay.
And we just got back from Pennsylvania. I was working there, and my wife and kids came with me, and I don't know, we made a couple trips along the way, but just being able to see them having the energy to go and do stuff with them, and not being like bogged down by myself, I guess.
Okay. Alright, well, I appreciate you coming in and talking with me today. I'm going to I know you've done some other assessment things for me. I'm going to look over those and kind of look at what we've talked about today and kind of get us a plan together. And then when I meet back with you next time, we'll kind of talk about everything. And it sounds like you kind of have a direction that you know you want to go in. You're kind of on a healthy path already. You've kind of started, like, laid that groundwork for that. And we can just get you some more goals, set some things, for on your journey, and hopefully kind of get rid of this, minimize this, get rid of this anxiety, depression, stress that you're having,
Nice.
and kind of get you in a little bit better place. It sounds like you're already, you're kind of on that path, and that's good.
Yeah, it's taken a while
That's okay.
since we first talked, but I don't know, the switch just flipped, I guess. So.
It's okay. Well, you need to give yourself credit for that. You need to give yourself credit for the progress that you
Yeah.
have made, and for even coming in today. That's a big step.
Sure.
So thank you so much, and I will get back with you when I get this stuff compiled for you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.